said time to get out of the middle of the yard. Welcome back to Living Our American Dream, everybody. So as you've seen in that intro right there, last night we had some pretty significant storms pass through Michigan. Now, we live in the middle of Michigan, and as you can see on that outage map, all the damage was done in the southern part of the state. So here, we didn't really have too much for damage. I think we got a couple inches of rain, but I thought this would be a good opportunity to show you guys my backup power setup for my house and how I would achieve backup power in an emergency situation. Let's run in the house and I'll show you what that would look like. So we're going to simulate a power outage right now by throwing off the main breaker in the house, and then I'm going to go throw off the main breaker in the barn. So my simulation, power's out. Let's go out to the barn and show you the setup. Okay, so our pretend mock setup here is I've thrown off the main breaker in the house and the main breaker in the barn. Now the reason that I do this is this video is not about to tell you to make sure you got flashlights or make sure you got water or any of that stuff, right? This video is to show you how, and maybe think through how you would get your backup power source engaged in an emergency. For me, first thing I've got to do is I've got to access these doors. Now with the power out, I can't hit my button anymore. My button doesn't work. So people may or may not know, on most overhead doors, there is a release from the opener that you can release and then manually open your door. So that's the first step. I got to get my key to get into the barn, open these overhead doors. Next thing I need is my tractor and my generator. Come on. So our backup power source is actually a PTO powered generator that runs off of our tractor. Now I keep this thing conveniently stored in an easily accessible spot, and I keep it on wheels. The reason for that is I don't want to have to be monkeying around trying to get this thing out of a tight spot if I need it. So I've got the PTO shaft here, the generator mounted on a carryall, and then the cord that I need all ready to go. I just got to hook it all up. Okay, so now that we have everything connected, I have my cable connected to the generator, my cable connected to the house. There is an interconnect that I need to make down in the panel for the house. Let's go down there and make that right now while I let the tractor warm up a little bit more. Okay, so always remember when you're doing this, it's going to be dark, so you will want a flashlight. And this is my basement, and it is really dark down here, even in the daytime. The interconnect that I'm talking about, if you can see my panel, is right here is my main breaker, and right here, actually it's this one, is my generator breaker. Okay, so in order for me to be able to turn this on, I have to slide this up out of the way, and then this can come on. Now what that does, this mechanically prevents me from turning back on the main breaker, which would connect me to the utility power. That is very important. This breaker is going to allow me to backfeed this panel from my generator. Also very important. Now, if you don't have this little device right here, I highly recommend getting one of these, because it is possible, if you don't know what you're doing, to have this connected to the outside utility and also your breaker on for your generator, which means your generator power could actually backfeed through the main breaker and out into the utility. That means anybody out there trying to restore power from the utility company could be electrocuted by your generator. So this is extremely important to make sure you have this. So before we leave this panel, there's one more thing, at least for my setup, that's important for me, is I need to turn off some of the large loads that may kick on when I turn my generator on. Now what I mean by that, I have a 15,000 watt generator, so like refrigerators, freezers, the sump pump are not really big loads, but the air conditioner or a dryer, for example, would be a large load. So the main one that I'm going to kick off right now is my air conditioner. We'll turn that on later. The generator will run it, but I'll turn it on afterwards so that I don't have a very large amp surge when I first start the generator. AC is 29, should be this one. That's all we need to do. All right, this next part's gonna get pretty loud. Now that the tractor's warmed up, I'm gonna go up there on the driver's seat and I'm gonna raise this up to the appropriate RPM, and then we're gonna start the generator. Now while I do that, Monica's gonna go down here on the generator, and there's a little needle gauge dial. I have to bring the RPM of the tractor and the generator up to where it's in the green part of that needle so that it's making the right amount of power. So it's gonna get a little loud, bear with me. Now that I have the right frequency on that gauge and I'm in the green part of the gauge on the generator, I'm going to go flip the breakers on and everything should come on in the house. So now that I've got the generator on and everything's kind of coming up to speed in the house, I'm going to go ahead and go downstairs. I'm going to turn the air conditioning back on and make sure that everything works okay, and then we'll be basically fully on generator power at that point. So in my simulated power outage, we've cut the power to the barn also. You may or may not notice that I have a separate electric meter and a separate panel for my barn, which means when I'm on generator power at the house, I don't actually have power out here in my workshop. So what I typically do is I will run this extension cord from the generator out to the barn, and that'll run my refrigerator and usually one light. That gets me through an emergency situation. It gives me a little bit of light in here and allows me to keep my stuff in this refrigerator cold. Other than that, typically I don't use my shop in an emergency situation. If I had to, I could backfeed my welding plug if I had to, but most of the time I don't do that. So as you've seen outside, I guess shutting it off is just the reverse process. So we shut the generator off, then we idle the tractor down. There's no power on the cord, so I can go ahead and unplug the cord. Now I'm going to put us back on utility power. All that means is I'm going to turn off my generator backfeed breaker. I'm going to slide this interconnect out of the way and bring my main breaker back in. Just like that. Now we're back on utility power. So I brought you back here to my fuel station to kind of end this video. Now, the reason I brought you back here is 1 tank of fuel in that tractor will last me non-stop running the house, probably around 6 to 8 hours, depending on how much load I have in the house. So if you watch my channel, you probably saw a while back that I rigged up these 2 55-gallon drums to hold diesel fuel. I never ever have less than 1 full tank of these here, so that's 50 to 55 gallons at the minimum. So that would be about 9 to 10 fill-ups on my tractor. So running non-stop, you can do that math. If I'm using about, I think my fuel tank is maybe 6 or 7 gallons, and that lasts me probably 6 or 7 hours. So I'm maybe burning a gallon of fuel per hour. So obviously in a long-term emergency situation, I would want to manage this where I run everything, cook, clean, get showers, do what we need to do, and then shut it off for a while. And then bring it back up maybe for next meal time or next cleanup time. With 2 full barrels of fuel like this, I believe that I could run in an emergency situation for several weeks. Now, luckily for us, the longest time I think we've ever had here, babe, is maybe a day or two, day and a half maybe.
Yeah, just a couple days.
When those storms went through yesterday, it really got me to thinking again, what is my preparedness level for a situation like that, where there was kind of mass devastation in a big storm. So that is our generator setup. If you want to know the pros and cons of using a PTO powered generator on a tractor, feel free to shoot me some comments in the comment section here. I'd be glad to answer those questions. Additionally, I have done other videos on my tractor generator setup in the past. If you look in the past history of this channel, you'll find some of those videos. Maybe you'll get some other information there, and I hope this is helpful. And if you have any questions, let me know. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.